where the West begins in Fort Worth, Texas, to around the globe. You are listening to Talk of the Night. And now, your host, Paranormal Phil. Thank you, and good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the world, around the globe, or even in your own backyard. I am Paranormal Phil, and tonight we're doing a special live stream for the presidential debate. Now, I'm going to bring up my chat, and feel free to pop in the chat and say hi. Let me type in there. Welcome to the chat. And join the discussion. Alright, so I'm going to give a few moments to hopefully, okay, there it is. Give it a few moments for people to show up before I get into the little pre-debate thing that I'm going to be talking about. Now, some of this stuff, be forewarned, it might upset you if you're a Trump supporter or if you're a Biden supporter. It don't matter. Because if you don't know by now, I support neither one of those political parasites. No government parasite. Because government, all they are is there to control and rule us. Think different? Let me know in the comments. But, like I said, we're going to get into the debate and everything like that. Now, I want to make sure people know I am live. So, give me a second. Let's see, where is it? Matter of fact, I'll do it from my phone because it'll be easier. So, like I said, we're going to talk about some of the topics that are supposed to be on the debate. One of them being climate change. We're going to, although I didn't pull up anything for climate change right now, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the C virus. And the reason why you'll probably hear me mention some things a little different is because I don't want my channel taken down. And it will get taken down because of the algorithms. So, like I said, I want to make different. Okay, so I just want to get the there it is. Copy the link. Alright, so I want to make sure that I got everything here. I'm going to post on Facebook that I am live now. So that way people can come in to the chat. And we're going to get started in a moment. Like I said, I'm going to give a moment for some people to come in. Like I said, pop in the chat. Let me know you're here and watching. And then as soon as I share this, I'm going to get started. Alright, so it's shared on my Facebook page for the show. I'm going to share it over on my personal page because got a lot more people over there. Alright, so shared on there. I haven't shared it to Twitter or anything like that, which I'm going to probably do here in a second. It's all copy. Alright, so, alright, like I said, tonight we're going to cover the presidential debate, which doesn't start for about another hour. But we're going to get into some other things before it does start. Like I said, for those just tuning in, we're going to cover some of the topics that are on the debate stage tonight, as well as some things that you might want to call me a conspiracy theorist, but hey, the information's out there. I didn't make this stuff up. I mean, you can make this stuff up, but why would you want to? So, like I said, we're gonna, okay, so it's shared to Twitter, it's shared to my Facebook page, so we're gonna get into the stuff here, and let me give me a second to get to the first thing I want to talk about. Now, everybody is talking about the, give me some water here, but everybody's talking about how they're struggling to make ends meet, the stimulus, and waiting on a stimulus. I mean, we're all in a catch-22. Excuse me. Where even me that doesn't like government, I'm in a catch-22 where we're needing this stuff to survive. But I mean, it's our own government that has set this all in motion. Well, not just our government, but other people behind the scenes. And everything like that. So, let's see, where is it? Alright. There it is. There's what I want. Alright, so, like I said, we're going to talk about the economy, because that's one thing that's probably going to be on one of the questions that are going to be asked in the debate. Now, again, this is not my words. This is from, let's get it off of that. Don't need that. But this is from their own mouths and everything like that. Now, this was on March 23rd of this year. And of course, you see the title here, stocks close in the red despite Fed's rescue efforts, March 23rd, 2020. And of course, it's from CNN. And all the links that I'm going to be talking about tonight will be in the description down below, where you can check it out for yourself. But I urge everybody to research everything that I say. Don't believe everything that I say, because, I mean, if I'm wrong, which sometimes I wish I was wrong, but if I'm wrong, let me know. Come up with a critical, what's the word I'm looking for? Critical argument to disprove what I'm talking about. But again, everything that I'm going to present to you is from their own mouths, not from mine. I mean, again, anybody can make this stuff up, but why would you want to? And yes, I'm parodying another YouTuber that I follow his channel, because if I didn't follow his channel, I would never be awake to some of the stuff that is going on. I would not be awake to what's happening in this country, what's happening in this world. And don't think because I'm listening to what he has to say doesn't mean that I believe every word that he says. I check out everything that he mentions. And I research it. And I look for myself. Make my own informed decision. But a lot of people don't know either of his channel unless they're looking for that specific topic, or they don't know what's going on because they are listening to mainstream, lamestream, fake stream media. Because they're CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird. I mean, look up Operation Mockingbird for yourself, and you'll see that the media is controlled to put out propaganda. And the political parasites, the ones running for president and Congress and the Senate and any government official, took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now, they say that they are for it, but there are some things that they say and they go back on their word about it. And if you can't see that, you're so enthralled in the dissident, if I can remember the word, cognitive dissonance. There it is. I was about to say it backwards. Which is holding two belief systems at the same time. But let's talk about this first article because, like I said, we got about 45 minutes till the presidential debate starts. Now, when the presidential debate starts, I'm going to do a lot of listening, but if I hear something that don't sound right, I'm going to chime in. But for the most part, when that starts, I'm stopped talking, but I will pay attention to the chat. So if you come into the chat, let me know you're here. Make sure that you join the discussion because, I mean, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you, the viewers. And always make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And share this with all your friends. Let them know that I'm live. Because there's so many options, and yes, I'm going to be playing, and sadly, I'm going to be playing lamestream media to cover the debate. Because I don't want to hop on somebody else's YouTube live stream when I want to cover it myself. Have my own take on it, if you will. So, also, I forgot to mention, before we get further into this, Talking the Night is listener, viewer supported. There is a PayPal link in the description down below where you can donate to help support the show and everything like that. It'll help me put out more content and get better at this with the equipment and everything like that. So anything will help. Like I said, just visit the PayPal link down below and you can donate there. So let's get into this. I want to make sure that my stream health is good. Make sure that people are in the chat. Tell me that oops. Okay, so it looks like I'm good. Like I said, pop in the chat. Let me know you're viewing. And of course, I'm going to have a little, and it looks like it's kind of frozen right now. So I apologize if I cut out, if I buffer. Let me know if I'm buffering and everything like that, because unless I check out my stream health, I won't know for certain. I want to make sure my computer's not getting too hot. But I apologize for the poor stream right now. All right, so again, let's talk about this article. And again, like I said, I hope that I'm not going to have problems with my stream. I mean, I got a good signal, or Wi-Fi signal, but it's just that the internet's been wonky all day. Yes, I said wonky. I wish I could change my resolution, because I guess it says it's not optimal for but I can't. I can't do anything while I am live streaming. So, and I'm not going to cut the stream short to fix that. Okay, so it looks like I'm good on stream health. So let's get back into this. Now, let me see if I can fix that so that way people can see this. So my ugly mug is not in the way. All right, so this is according to the St. Louis Fed chairman, this is a planned shutdown of the U.S. economy in the second quarter. And when this article was written out, so they planned this stuff out. And if you think I'm wrong, let me know why you think I'm wrong. I'm going to check Facebook here because I got a notification. I want to make sure that it wasn't somebody let me know that they're trying to get on and can't find the link. I mean, I provided the link for people, but again, like I said, this is what the Fed chairman said. This is a planned shutdown of the U.S. economy. And if you think I'm wrong, check it out for yourself. Search it for yourself. But here it is right here, and the link is in the description down below. It says the U.S. economy is expected to contract and unemployment is expected to jump in the second quarter of the year. Now, they didn't put out any more as far as I know. I haven't looked to see if there's any more, but they haven't put out any more information because I think they're putting out little tidbits of truth. But most of the time they're lying and everything like that. But they put out that little bits of truth, so it makes you think they're telling the truth the whole time. And of course, everybody's bickering and fighting over the masks, over the COVID-19, over racial division, all that stuff in this country right now. But we're not focusing on the real enemy, the real virus, which is the Federal Reserve. Oops, didn't want to say that. the central banking cartel. Oops, didn't want to say that. The cat dog cat organization, and if you don't know what that is, and the WHO. Oops, shoot, I messed up. I shouldn't have said that, but the W H O should have said it that way. Whiskey Hotel Oscar are that way. Because like I said, the algorithms will pick up on those little things and they will take it down. And I'm going to cover some things that they're already censored. Now, even with government and mainstream media, how much they lie, how much they put out propaganda, I don't want them censored. But yet they want me censored. They want other content creators that talk about this censored. They want everybody censored that brings up the truth. And the truth is treason and the empire lies. Because they don't want their narrative being challenged. They don't want their narrative being seen as them. They want us fighting amongst each other. So that way we don't see the real enemy, like I said, the real virus, which is political parasites and the central banking cartel. Now, like I said, this continuing with the story, the U.S. economy is expected to contract and unemployment is expected to jump in the second quarter of the year. This is a planned or a temporary shutdown of the U.S. economy. Temporary, huh? Let's see. It's been what? 8-9 months? That ain't temporary. Because remember what they said at the beginning of this whole thing with the C virus? Or people have used the cerveza bug or I forget what else they've used. But I'll use C virus. And of course, this whole thing hasn't been isolated, which I forgot to pull that up earlier about from their own documentation that this has not been isolated from the CDC. So I apologize. If I can find it later, I will add it to the description down below. So that way you can check it out for yourself. This is going to be a throttle back of the U.S. economy for what it usually is, said James Bullard, president of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, on CNN's, the Communist News Network's First Move. The U.S. economy will be missing around $2.5 trillion worth of second quarter income. But where did that income that boosted the stock markets come from? Well, it came from the Feds printing money. Fiat notes. Let me see. I should have $1. Yeah. See this? Let me see that if you can see this. Make sure that you can see this. See this note right here? Federal Reserve note? That's just a piece of paper. Yes, it'll buy things, but it's not worth what it used to be anymore. And that all went downhill in 1913 when the Federal Reserve Act came online. We lost a lot And then, of course, in 1971, I think it was, while Dwight D. Eisenhower took away the gold standard, and then Richard Nixon decoupled the dollar from gold. Now we just got a piece of paper. Now, the printing presses that they use to print those is very seldom in use anymore. Yes, they put out new bills, new designs, but a lot of that is just ones and zeros in people's bank accounts. That's what the stimulus is. Zeros and ones in your bank account. So that's what Congress is trying to bridge. That is the revenue that isn't there for businesses. And of course, when you look at the whole, get something to drink, the whole stimulus bill, the first one, it was only supposed to be $2 trillion. Well, remember when Donald Trump signed the $6.2 trillion into law? Like I said, everybody needs that because it's a catch-22. But like I said, we need to see the real enemy, who the real enemy is. And again, don't be afraid to join me in the chat. Don't think that because I'm talking about this stuff that you can't chime in. I'm not going to try to censor you because, like I said, no matter how much CNN and lamestream media is about lying, I don't want to censor them, because if I censor them, then they're gonna, or if I want to censor them, they can censor me. The golden rule should be for everybody: do unto others what you would, or don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. So I mean, but yet we allow them to tell us how we live. And if you say you're a Trump supporter and he doesn't win, well, those people that voted for Biden are going to push their ideas on you. But for those that are Trump supporters and he does win, and say he wins, but it's not an election, it's a C-election. But he's selected. The president is selected. It's not, they make the voting seem like we have a choice. We don't have a choice. They all work for the same banking cartel and everything like that. So this economy has been ruined by the banking cartel, propagated by political parasites, and propagandized, I hope that's a word, by mainstream media. Operation Mockingbird. Now, like I said, I don't trust mainstream media. I don't watch the news. I'll look at it, just read. But like I said, like here, they put out a little bit of truth by saying this is a planned, not a plan. They planned this whole thing out. And we're going to get into the whole plan here in a minute. Like I said, you might think I'm a conspiracy theorist. You can call me that. But they want to censor people like myself that is putting out this information. They want to censor anybody that doesn't go along with their narrative. And I'm going to get all into that in a moment. But this is a planned, as it says right here from the St. Louis Fed chairman, Bullard, James Bullard. This is a planned shutdown of the U.S. economy. So they planned this whole thing. And if you think I'm wrong, let's get into when all this really started. Because we got 30 minutes. I got a lot to talk about. You probably heard of Event 201. Let me stretch this back out. So you probably heard of Event 201 and everything like that. And I'm going to play a short clip. But if you go to this website, like I said, all the links are in the description. But who's putting out all this information? Who's benefiting? That's the big question you have to ask. Who benefits? Well, Event 201, shouldn't have said that because it might trip an algorithm. So if this video disappears, you know why. But I'm recording it so I can always repost it and edit it. But who is the big players in the fear porn death map that all mainstream media puts out? Is that, well, let's see, maybe that organization? And we're going to get into this organization, and everybody knows this organization. Everything like that. So we're going to get all into that. But the numbers, the cases, the deaths, all come from that. So if you say, well, it's not planned, they couldn't have planned ahead. Why not? But if you think it started with Event 201, you're kidding yourself. It's not. It didn't start just with that. I don't know, I'm going to get into that too. And I'm going to get into what their whole plan is with this whole thing. But I want to make sure, like I said, pop in the chat, say hi, join the discussion. You think I'm wrong, leave a comment in the chat, or if you're watching this later, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. But again, like I said, this is some information that might upset people that are Trump or Biden supporters. And if you can't see my shirt, it says, I don't support Republicans. I don't support Democrats. But I do, however, support freedom. And that's what I want for everybody, is freedom. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But we can't have that as long as they're propagating the stuff that they are propagating to this day. Like this. Now, let's see. Let's get to videos here. Because I want to play a little bit of their highlight video. Or the highlight reel video. And you can find these videos on this site. Again, all the links are in the description. Like I said, if you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. Alright, so let's actually get to this.
Rise exponentially. In 3 months, we could be approaching 10 million cases.
We're at the start.
Yeah,
What's looking like it will be a severe.
Notice who's at the table there at the. Let me get rid of that. At the table there to talk about this exercise. that they put on. Yeah, it was just an exercise. There was no nefarious in doing to this. And as you heard, in 3 months, let's go back here.
And 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially. In 3 months.
And what are we at right now? Let me actually pull that up. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull it up because I forgot to all right, let's see, I don't want that ad, and I didn't pull this up, but let's see, where is it? It should be here somewhere. Okay, so it's taking its sweet time uploading. I apologize. But let's look at the numbers. I think let's see, the global where is it? Okay, that's just individual things, but let's see, the global deaths, 222,995. In the U.S., oh, that's in the U.S., and let's see, I want this bigger, but trying to make it bigger. See if we can see if this will make it bigger. Again, like I said, I didn't think to pull this up beforehand, but I forgot all about it. No, that's not what I want. I want the map here. See, because I got this little, okay, it's not wanting to give me the thing the way I want it seen. Give me a second. See if we can expand this map here. All right, there it is. There we go. So we got 41 million cases, 561,983 cases. This is not infection. This is not illnesses. This is just cases. And everybody's going off of that number right there. They're going off of that number. But they're looking at the deaths too. And let's see. Let's take 41 million. Let's just leave out the thousands and hundreds. But let's look at the million. All right. So you got 41 million global cases, which I don't think there is any cases. And even the CDC mentions it. Like I said, it's in their own documentation. I did not pull it up beforehand, and I apologize. If I can, I'll find the High Impact Flicks or High Impact TV's video and play that for you that shows it. Because like I said, I didn't get a chance to pull it up. I forgot all about it. But let's look at the numbers. 41 million. All right. And then we'll look at the, I'm just checking something real quick here. Making sure I'm still good. And then let's look at the case number, and let me move this over. Actually, let's shrink this down here. I apologize if it's in the way, but I want to try and get all this in here so you can see all this. All right, so there we go. So let's look at the numbers. 41 million, all right, compared to 1,135,700. And this is global. Now, you take that and get a percentage out of that. That's what, 0.3%? I mean, look at some other... I mean, that puts it right in line with the flu, which I've always said. Which they've even said. That's even from Dr. Fauci. And I didn't pull up anything on masks or anything like that because I didn't want to have a string of tabs open to do this. But let's look at that number. Like I said, it's what, maybe 0.3% of deaths compared to cases, which according to Carrie Mullis, and I think I did a video on this, is the tests were not made to test for any virus. And like I said, it's stated in the CDC's own website. I mean, it's buried in the website, but it's there. And if you're in the chat, I can't see you right now because... Okay, I just wanted to check the chat because I had the screen full screen and I don't got it up here where I can see it. But, matter of fact, I think I can do this. Let's do that where I can see it while I'm talking. Alright, so I want to be able to see the chat. And let me type in there, free to join the discussion. Alright, again, feel free to join the discussion. Pop in the chat, let me know you're viewing and everything like that. But that's 0.3%. Now, what is, according to 2018 data, what was can anybody tell me what the death rate was for, let's say, tuberculosis, TB? Well, let's say that there was 10 million cases, I think and 1.5 million deaths in the U.S. In the U.S. alone. That is a 15% death rate. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because let's look at the U.S. numbers. 8 million, almost 8,400,000, compared to 222,000 deaths. Let's see. Could the numbers be inflated? Yes, they can. Now I'm going to check Facebook again because I don't want to open Facebook where y'all can see my Facebook. So, I mean, I got it listed here, but I don't want to open it. But, like I said, 8 million U.S. cases compared to 200 Let's see. India, 7 million cases, but 1.16 million deaths. So you got likelihood of 100%, almost 100% chance of surviving a virus that they haven't even isolated. So again, like I said, I didn't put this link in the description. I will afterwards, after I'm done. But let's get into other things. Like I said, I got a lot to talk about, but some of these might be done during commercial breaks. Resetting the food table. And look at who it's by. Oh, I wonder. Remember this event? This thing here? And who was in it? The world, this, and this, and this. Well, guess who they're all funded by? I wonder. Well, Bill Gates probably funds his own stuff, and funds other things. But yeah, like this and this and everything going on with the banking cartel. Guess who funds them? Guess who the puppet masters are for those political parasites that you are voting for? Right there. Not just that, but all the central banking cartel. But reset the table. Meet in the moment to transform the U.S. food supply. They don't want to just transform the food supply. They don't want to just transform it to, make everything healthier. No, that's not what they want. If you think that, you're kidding yourself. And I'm just checking something here. That's not what they want. Let's see. America faces hunger and nutrition crisis unlike any this country has ever seen in generations. And I wonder why. Could it be because of the C virus and this event? I think so. A lot of people are going hungry. They're not able to pay rent. They're not able to survive. They're going hungry. They're in socialist bread lines. Yes, this happened under Trump, but do you think Biden's going to do any better? No, he's going to continue and trying to find the right words. Propagate. That's the word I'm looking for. Propagate this even more. I'm going to get into a video that talks about Trump too. Because like I said, why would you vote for any of these political parasites? Now, I've heard stories like, well, I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, if you're voting for the lesser of two evils, it still makes the other person evil. Doesn't change the fact that they are evil. And that's what I'm trying to get across in this live stream. Is all this stuff like resetting the table. They want to reset the economy, bring in a one world cashless society. They want to destroy the population. We have become a socialist country. And I don't want to go over too much of this, but you can see some of the 40% of Americans, and when was this done? trying to remember, I'm trying to think of when this was done, but put out there, but it wasn't too long ago. But 40% of Americans are unable to access $400 even in times of emergency. 1/3 of households with children couldn't afford to buy the amount or quantity of food they wanted. It shouldn't say needed, not wanted. 63% and 54% of Hispanics and black workers respectively reported low earnings wages in even before the C virus struck. But they want us fighting amongst each other because of the racial tensions. They want us fighting against each other, team red, team blue, when they both are each wing of the same bird. They're going to exact the same tyranny on you regardless. I'm going to say, actually, I want to play part of this before we get into the debate, because the debate's about to start. Matter of fact, let's check it. Yeah, it's still there, but they're not started yet. Alright, so I want to play this. This is from High Impact TV. If you go over to his channel and visit him, let him know that I sent you and everything like that. So check out his channel. Like I said, he woke me up. His channel woke me up, and I happened to stumble across his channel by accident one time, and I'm glad I stumbled upon it, because he woke me up to so much tyranny that is going on in this country. So much that is happening. And we just believe what mainstream media tells us. But I'm going to play this, a little bit of this here. And of course, like it says right here, this is not a campaign ad or a hit piece for the other side. Because he does not, he's like me. He does not support any of these political parasites. Because like I said, when I was in the military, I rose my hand to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I still stand by that oath. But law enforcement, political parasites, mayors, congressmen, senators, presidents, vice presidents, all of them have dishonored their oath that they took to protect and defend the Constitution. And it's not just now. It's been going on for a long time. And the 6.2 trillion, which is going to be played here in this video, that Trump signs, that I mentioned earlier, is selling our posterity down the line to our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. They're going to pay all this debt. You think everything is free? No, it's not free. Nothing in this world is ever free. You think they're giving away free money? No. Somebody's got to pay it back. And that's left up to you and me. You and me. We're left up to that. Our kids are left up to it. Our grandkids are left up to that. Our great-grandkids are left up to that. Like I said, this is. I wish I could have found one on Biden, as I know he's done one, but I had a lot to do and I just didn't get a chance to. Let's pull up the thing where Trump signs the 6.
Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it.
And notice,
I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point.
notice them all laughing in the background. I mean, the Fed chairman, the Secretary of Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, they're all in the banker elite. They're all bought by the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgans, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers. I mean, like I said, I could go on and on, but like I said, this is something I normally don't talk about, is political stuff like this, and I want to check and make sure. Okay, just checking the debate stage. So, let's see where they're at.
And at one point did try to strike a business deal.
Okay, so not yet. But notice they're all laughing. Who laughs at that? Who laughs at that? Well,
I don't think so. All right, thank you all.
Bacon elite. Ones that are selling us down the country, and he's no different. Biden's no different. They're all going to sell us down the river.
But I wanted that to be a nice signature.
Everybody thinks slavery, and we're fighting over racial divisions and like slavery stuff. Well, guess what? Yes, the slavery of black people is over with. We've gone past that. But we're all still slaves. Whether you want to think about it or not. We're all slaves to the banking puppets. We're all slave to people like Donald J. Trump and Pedo Joe and all these banking elite puppets. We're all slaves to them. We're slaves to people like him. But yet, they still vote.
Well, I personally think
like
the Fed should drop rates.
or Biden.
I think they really slowed us down. There's no inflation. I would say in terms of quantitative tightening, it should actually now be quantitative easing.
Yeah, and see, tightening would actually, and getting the market back to a fair market value, rather than this quantitative easing infinity. That's what's destroying our country. I mean, he was bailed out by Wilbur Ross of the Rothschild Foundation, or Rothschild banking cartel. I forget what it was, the tune of $400 million, I think it was, for the Taj Mahal. I mean, think about it. Look back in history, because one thing history tells us is that we don't learn from history. We need to learn from history. But yet we burn those books. We burn those digital books. That's why, let me find it here. Let's see, is this it? No, I'm going to get into that in a moment. Where is it? I know I have it here somewhere. Oh, that's something else. Oh, yeah, no, this is it. House Resolution 1154, condemning QAnon, and rejecting the conspiracy theorists it promotes. Now, like I said, you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but I'm putting out the truth here. Do I know? Oh, wait. Chat disconnected. It's a lost connection here. Looks like a lost connection. Hold on. Great. So, hopefully I didn't lose everybody, but I'm going to check if you can hear me. Like I said, it's still recording, so I'm going to be uploading this, but I want to make sure that what's going on here. You can hear me. Like I said, it's still recording, so I'm gonna. Okay. It's just somehow. Okay, it's still recording, so that's a good thing. Okay, I just can't seem to see my stream health to see how it's doing. Or anything. There we go. So it's back. It's back to where it was. Again, I apologize for that. For anybody watching. But let's check to see if they are not back at the they're not at the debate stage yet. But let's continue this video here.
Very little, if any, inflation, and I think they should drop rates and they should get rid of quantitative tightening. You would see a rocket ship. Despite that, we're doing very well.
Yeah, see, he was struggling with the Taj Mahal. He was bailed out by Wilbur Ross of the Rothschild banking cartel. And what did Donald Trump do? Well, he works now for Donald Trump. And let's get to this part. Everybody knows that he
and I think it's appropriate to say
he all that talk about Hillary Clinton in the campaign of 2016, and he still talks about it to this day.
Great respect for.
It's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us.
Which is part of the banking cartel. I mean,
outrage over survival food? I've got some insider news to share with you. And you may.
All right, let's see. Okay, we're not at the thing.
A man of immense talent and experience and knowledge.
But remember what he said about Hillary Clinton, that she should still be in prison? Well, why is she not in prison? Because of this. Watch this.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
This is from the 2016 debate.
Here's the thing. It's crooked Hillary Clinton against the communists. Who the hell? I mean, this guy's crazy.
Remember all that? But watch this. You think it's all a dog and pony circus act. I mean, think about it. And you're going to see why I say that here. And I cannot answer the phone. I'm live streaming, people. Alright, so you're going to see why I say that here in a moment. Because watch this.
You know, I'll tell you,
Trump
there is
pretends
something
to hate Hillary, yet
because
respects
I
and
was very
praises her.
honored, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today.
It's crooked Hillary
Remember, crooked Hillary.
Clinton.
And I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand
That's
up.
it. He said all that stuff. And this is what political parasites do. They say all this stuff to make you think, oh, we're going to do this and that, but looks like the debate starts in a little 11 minutes or so we got some time. But when it comes down to it, they're all friends. They're all part of the same team. That includes Biden, that includes Trump. They're all bought by banker puppets. So like I said, you can check out his channel. There is a link to this video, which if you click on this, which I'm going to do right now, it'll take you right to his channel. You can check out the videos that he has, but I want to bring up the one that he talked about. Yeah, this is the one that has the CDC's documentation.
Tonight, the CDC is out with new
that shows, let's see, right here. We're going to play right here.
About 60,000 new cases a day. And remember...
Now, how do we know that? How do we know that number is rising? Because remember, Charlie Delta Charlie also put out this little document right here called Charlie...
And this is the document that I was talking about that I wish I could have pulled up for tonight's show, but I didn't think about to pull it up, look for it to pull it up. But what is this? The Charlie Delta Charlie, as he mentions, or the cat organization, and the C virus real-time RT-PCR diagnostic panel. But listen to what he says in this document. Like I said, I've seen this document. I just forgot to pull it up and put it in the thing.
Charlie Delta Charlie.
I will leave it in the link as soon as this video uploads.
2019 Cerveza-Bug real-time RT-PCR diagnostic panel. And if you go down here to page 39.
Like I said, buried in the documentation, page 39. Oh, but this couldn't be planned, could it? It can't be part of something like this. No, it couldn't have been. But like I said, this is only a smokescreen for how long it's really been going on. And we're going to get into that during the debate.
And they reveal something that mainstream media won't tell you. And what is that? In the last paragraph, the second sentence, it says, since no quantified virus isolates of Cerveza-Bug are currently available.
They're not. Since no quantified virus isolates of the Cerveza-Bug, the C virus, are currently available. Oh, I wonder why. Could it be made up? Could there be some kind of other illness going on that's causing these deaths? Could it be like TB, a strain of TB, a worst case of TB, a worst case of the regular flu? Could it be something else? And I didn't pull that up either, but there's plenty videos and documentation by the Charlie Delta Charlie organization that state that even if you die of a clear alternate cause, they're going to mark it down as a C virus death, adding to this number, these numbers right here. So let's continue what he's talking about.
Assays, that's the diagnostic test from which they get all these cases right here. Those diagnostic tests designed for detection of the Cerveza-Bug RNA were tested with characterized stocks of in vitro transcribed full-length RNA, not the Cerveza-Bug itself. Why couldn't they do it with Cerveza-Bug? Because it wasn't isolated, and it is currently, according to Charlie Delta Charlie Corporation, the big pharma corporation, it's currently not available. So what does that tell you about?
And like I said, I mean, think about it. Look at the data. I'm looking at the time and everything like that to see what we got. And we should be close to debate time. So we're gonna leave it here for a second. But yeah, I mean, look at the data that is out there that mainstream media don't want you to know. What mainstream media don't want to tell you about. And this is the documentation that I'm going to talk about later on during a commercial break for the debate. But scenarios for the future of technology. Again, all the links are in the description where you can check out all this stuff for yourself. But this, look at who put it out. Oh, let's see. That organization, that foundation that was part of, this, we sit at the table. But we're going to get into this during the commercial breaks of the debate. So, let's see.
Those plexiglass screens, which have now been removed, we're told it came after White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows made a request to Dr. Anthony Fauci to speak to the commission. He spoke to the commission, said that he did not believe the plexiglass screens were necessary because the candidates were 12 feet apart, so they will not be on the stage tonight. David Muir, what are you looking for?
Well, but yeah, they want us to wear a mask. Oops, I paused it. I didn't
looking
want
to
to
Joe
pause
Biden to see these personal attacks that he's.
I didn't want to pause it. I wanted to. And we might have already started the debate. I was a little behind, I guess.
Just far less lethal,
So
but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now. But it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry, it's all going to be over soon.
Like I said, I mean,
So the world thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up.
This
I don't
is
know.
all
He's
a dog
obviously
and
made a lot
pony
of money
show.
someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do
But
that.
they're going to put out little bits of
The
truth
president
here.
couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting,
and of course we can't do that either. We're going to go down to a third world country if we do.
Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous, and you catch it. And I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9%.
Somebody that gets better health care than
99% of
like
people
myself
recover.
or the
We have to
regular
recover.
people.
We can't close up our nation. We have to
mine would
open
be
our
no
school,
different.
and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
Number one, he says we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning.
Yeah, but they want us to learn to live with it. They want us to be a new normal.
Is gone. Learning to live with it.
We'll never get back to normal as long as we elect political parasites like these two.
It's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? and you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
So they say, but like I said,
fact is that
remember,
when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
That's what they say.
Perhaps just to finish this.
That's what they say.
But just to finish this.
How do they know we're going to lose
when I
that many
closed,
people?
He said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China.
That's another
now
thing they want us fighting amongst each other is the race card. Why can't we all be humans?
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
that's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude
that's
that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap at his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Oh, well, no, I'm not shutting down the name, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up. More social distancing. Do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this under control. Under more control.
Called tyranny.
When you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight, and they're dying. They're dying.
And it's not just Democrats, it's Republican states as well.
No, we're not going to shut down,
and
we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression,
they're going to be back there like the WWE wrestling match, like
there's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country.
When they're behind stage,
I've said it often, the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. we ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but when they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive.
How much are we
and
going
it's
to fund
not
them
the
more
answer. I mean,
with
you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic.
Maybe 6.2
these are
trillion,
businesses
like
that are dying,
Donald
Joe.
J.
You can't
Trump
do that to people. You
or
just
Biden
can't. Take
would
a look at New
sign.
York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red
virus
states.
that they
They're the
haven't
states in the
isolated,
Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest.
verified,
That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're
contained.
all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when
about...
you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster.
I've been against the mask. I've not worn the mask. I've been around people less than 6 feet apart. I got health problems. I got breathing problems, everything like that. I'm a heavy smoker. I got emphysema, sleep apnea.
He did say,
I have still yet to be
this
sick.
is not going to be a problem.
Why?
I think he said
because
that,
I let
but that's
my
okay.
immune
He said this
system
is
do
not
its
going
work.
to be a problem.
I
We are not going to have a
avoid
problem
wearing
at
the
all.
mask
When
at
Joe
all
says that,
costs.
I said, Anthony
But
Fauci
people
said, and
that
others,
wear
and
those
many
masks,
others, and I'm not
those
knocking
are
him a lot. Nobody knew.
mobile
Look,
petri
nobody knew what
dishes
this
that
thing
everybody's
was. Nobody
touching
knew
them
where
and
it was
everything
coming
like
from,
that.
what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words, this is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next
My
section.
response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us. Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Let's
see who's going to benefit there. And then we're going to move on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street.
Who
You're the
would
one that takes
benefit
all the
there?
money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
The
John,
bacon
you've
elite.
raised a lot of money. tremendous
The
amounts
Jeff
of money.
Bezos, the
And every time you raise
Zuckerbergs,
money,
the-
deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration
I think
information.
it's all
these
because of the
officials
global
say, and Iran sent
elitists
intimidating
that are
messages
pushing
to
this.
Florida
But
voters.
before
This
we get
question goes to you, Mr.
into
Vice
this,
President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You
there's
have
some
2 minutes
questions
for
that actually I'll say
I
that
made it
for the
clear.
commercial break.
And I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and someday you're going to have to explain why did you get $3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night,
not directly. None of them will get it directly.
John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump.
Who paid for that stuff?
I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening. and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Yeah, clean it up.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30 seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your account
Nobody told you that. Excuse me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia.
Dog and pony show.
You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions about all of this, but I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you have a deadline for when you're going to release them?
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised, to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us.
Do it.
Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
So,
President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong, because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing. Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do, because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy who made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
But could I just one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a question to you.
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is, everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money.
President Trump, thank you. We do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it. And that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay. Very quickly, and then we're going to move on to North Korea.
With $1.5 billion from China to manage after spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force 2, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying.Ey're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
Yeah,
taxpayers' money didn't come from China.
You know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid out. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. And the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President. 10 seconds.
Typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North Korea.
I'm not a typical politician.
Okay.
That's why I got elected.
Let's
get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the
clown show.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test, and yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul. Millions of people would be dead right now.
President Trump, that's 30 seconds. Thank you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat?
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's the I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how they're better off, and they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be a nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried to meet with him. They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I got to give him a chance to respond to that before we move on.
And that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship with leaders of other countries is a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get to.
Your response. We had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
and it didn't happen.
Let's move on and talk about American families.
He left me a mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do need to move on. They left me
a mess. North Korea was a mess. And in fact, if you remember the first 2 or 3 months, there was a very dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country had.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? And you'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care. And we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. will become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions, and all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response?
It's ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate. That's what I do.
President Trump,
he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question.
You can ask.
He goes for a year. There will be
We have a number of topics.
No, but that's a big question.
We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized medicine.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
When he says public option, he's talking about socialized medicine, and when and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. Bernie Sanders tried it. in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
Let's let Vice President Biden respond. It doesn't work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden is running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023. With no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of, he
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on.
This
I'm
is
going
the
to move
guy
on.
that when they announced,
Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
they said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
gonna
will
have time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
Of course, like as always, nobody has control over the
The
state.
idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more. $700 billion more, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on.
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
They have no control
And he doesn't
over
come
this
from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to
And he
the
left.
next question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question.
Mute the mics
As
like
of
they said
tonight,
they
more
were
than
going
12
to.
million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
Everybody's
You're the
affected
president.
because
I do,
of this.
but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all
they
fairness.
want to
This
sell
one
us
she
down
doesn't
the
want. It's
river
near the election because she thinks it
more.
helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because let
Republicans
me
will
ask
pass
Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there.
Because
and
what
look
they're
at what's
trying
happening.
to do is screw
When
us
I was
even
in charge of the
more.
Recovery Act with
They're trying to
$800
figure out
billion,
how can we screw them
I was able to get
without them getting
$145
wise
billion
to it.
to local communities that have to balance their budgets, and states that have to balance their budgets, and then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with
The
these
bill that was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats,
listen,
cities and states.
that's
It was a
not
way
where
of
it
getting
went.
a lot of money, billions and billions
The
of dollars to
money
these
went
states.
to
It was
big
also a way of getting
corporations
a
while
lot of
we only
money
got
from
the
our people's
breadcrumbs
pockets
of
to
that
people that come into our
$6.2
country
trillion.
illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them.
We only
and
got
what that
big
does, and I'd love to
breadcrumbs,
do
and I
that, I'd
did
love
a
to
show
help them,
on
but what
that.
that does, everybody
video
all over the
on
world
that.
will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question.
I think
But
I
it was
did it on
really a big
Facebook just to
bailout
mention
for
that.
badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By
I
the way,
want
if
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is America America, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk
but
about
they
the
didn't
minimum
want
wage,
a
gentlemen. Mr. Vice
centralized
President,
government like we
we are talking a lot
have
about
now.
struggling small businesses
Yes.
and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back.
We don't need to bail them out. We need to allow them to open business. Let's get
to be able to call
back to
PPP.
normal
Money
where we
is supposed to
should
go to
be,
help them do everything
because
from
this whole
organize
thing
how
was
they can
perpetuated
deal with their businesses
by-
being open safely.
What was it?
Schools, how they can make
let's see,
classrooms
that
smaller, how they can hire more
these
teachers, how they can put
organizations.
ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to
One
immigration,
thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
we have
recently-
to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
You
How
said-
are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal
Say
minimum
it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really
administration?
like, in a second administration, but not
She
to a
called
level
him
that's
on
going to
it.
put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap
There
for
are
as they come
people
down the
that
street
have 2
because
jobs
they've
that
allowed us to
cannot
make it.
make ends
What's
meet.
happening? They
And it's
deserve a
not
minimum
because
wage
of
of $15.
the
Anything below that puts you below the
minimum
poverty
wage.
level.
It's
And there is no
because
evidence
of
that when you raise
inflation,
the minimum
the
wage,
devaluing
businesses
of the
go out
dollar
of business.
that they
That
have
is
done
simply
since
not true.
We're going to talk about
1913.
immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen.
And nobody's
we're gonna
asking
talk
the question
families
about the
within this
IRS or
context.
the
Mr.
Federal
President, your
Reserve.
administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you
But
reunite
let me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
Let
families,
me just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the
Jeez.
cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper.
Deviating
There was a picture
from
of these
what
horrible
is being
cages,
actually
and they
asked.
said, look at these cages.
Now,
President
not
Trump
to
built
say
them.
Biden
And then it was determined they were built
won't do the
in
same
2014. That was
But
him.
that's
Do
what
you
they
plan
do.
to
This is
reunite the
all
kids?
done
Yes, we're
before
working
the
on it
show.
we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me
that's
bring you
the
into
truth.
this
There's
conversation.
a little
Quick
bit of
response and
truth
then another
built
question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with.
How do you know that?
Real tough. We're really strong.
How do
and
you
guess
know
what?
that?
They cannot. It's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got
How do
separated
you
from their
know
parents.
that there's
And it
been
makes us a
studies
laughing
that
stock
show
and violates
that
every notion of who
some
we
of
are
these
as a nation.
Kids were not
Let me
with
ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did
people
it.
that
We
were
changed the
their
policy.
Your
parents.
response
They
to
did
that?
it.
We
changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
Who
built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say this. They went
10
down, we
seconds, and
brought
then I need to
reporters,
ask-
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of
and
them
have gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they go to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
Kristen, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released, and guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that you seek asylum based on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
The same person.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move on.
It just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But
President
very,
Trump,
very
let's give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
No, the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do.
But it should not
my
be
daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has her graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making $300,000 child, a $300,000 a year person, or someone who's on food stamps. But the fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've all constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform. Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding. And I did. 10-year long-term funding. And I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice President.
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is a guy who said the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where The federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race.
Neither one of
I'm
you tell the
anxious to
truth.
see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have
If this stuff
follow-up
is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue
from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please.
Because look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
Gentlemen, I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from the president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
The first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
What do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's getting rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
You made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln. Where did that come in?
you said for Abraham Lincoln.
Where did that? No. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put tens of thousands of black men, mostly, in jail.
All right,
You
let
know
me
what?
ask
They
Vice
remember it,
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change it since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talking.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000 prisoners left from
you got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. We have there were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. We in fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked one question. Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well, you got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes
all right.
You got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section.
Like I did with criminal justice reform. I had to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen, we're running out of time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready?
Okay,
we have
sorry,
done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Not climate change. Watch my
we haven't destroyed our
video
industries.
that I did on
Vice
weather
President Biden,
modification.
2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world, we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years.
What, the
4 more years
Green
of this
New Deal?
man, eliminating all
AOC,
the regulations that were put in by
them?
us to
Bernie
clean
Sanders?
up the climate, to clean up, to limit the
I want to see if they're
limited
going to get
emissions
into that.
will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street, and I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump,
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers. $100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the electric, solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, 45, 50 bucks an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-up.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds. It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a
Solar.
scientist that said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world.
Petrodollar.
It's all a pipe
Right
dream.
now, they're trying to
But you know
figure
what
out a
we'll
way
do?
to make
We're
money
gonna
off
have the
of
greatest
the
economy in the world. But if you
solar
want to kill the economy, get rid of
look at
your oil industry.
Tesla. He wanted to
and
give
what
us
about fracking?
free energy.
Let me allow Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is, he's flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me, he was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying,
3 hours,
but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again. And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember that.
President Biden, your response,
We
and then
have
we're going to have a
cheap
final
gas right
question
now
for both
because
of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. She doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And there are more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutants, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil
By
industry?
the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition. It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving
You
to
know
the
how
oil
we
industry,
solved
I'd
the
stop giving them
problem
federal subsidies.
with a lot of these
You won't give
pollution?
federal
Let's go
subsidies
back
to
to horse and
the
buggy.
gas, excuse me, to the solar and wind.
And if
Why are we
they
giving
keep
it to oil
selling us
industry?
They
down
actually
the
do
river,
to solar and wind.
We have
That's
one
maybe
final
the biggest
eventually that's
statement
where
in
we're
terms
gonna
of
end
business.
up,
That's the
if not
biggest
back
statement.
in the dark
Because
ages.
basically what he's
One
saying
final
is he is
question,
going to
Mr.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
gonna get
question
China to
both
do
of you.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We
going
have
to get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question.
No,
We have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
of
this
course
is
you're
about
trying to do.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you.
We have to make a
I'll
country
get into this
totally
after this.
successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get
people
together. We had the
vote for
best
Trump
black
are
unemployment
voicing
numbers in the history of our country.
Their
Hispanic,
ideals on
women,
people that would
Asian,
vote for Biden,
people with diplomas, with no
and vice versa.
diplomas,
Biden
MIT graduates,
voters
number one in the
be
class.
voicing
Everybody
their
had the best numbers. And you know
voice
what? The other side
on
wanted to get together.
Trump
They wanted to
supporters,
unify.
when we all
Success
should
is going
be
to bring us together.
united
We
rather
are on
than
the road
divided
to
by
success.
blue and
But
red.
I'm cutting
That's why
taxes,
I
and he
have
wants
the
to
shirt.
raise
If you want
everybody's
the shirt,
taxes, and he wants to
let me
put
know
new regulations on
as soon
everything.
as I
He
can.
will kill
I
it.
will
If he gets in, you will have a
have it
depression,
in
the
my
likes of
store
which you've
on
never
my
seen.
website
Your
where you can buy it.
401ks will go to
I don't
hell,
support
and it'll be a
Republicans.
very,
I
very
don't
sad day
support
for this
Democrats. I
country.
do,
All right.
however, support
Vice President
freedom.
Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me.
Yeah,
And I'm going to make sure that you're
Lies.
represented. I'm going to give you
Both of
hope.
them.
We're going to move. We're going to
Lies.
choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities, enormous
wait.
opportunities to
Speaking
make
of
things better.
science.
We can grow this economy. We can
Let's
deal
see,
with the
what does it
systemic
say?
racism. At the
Coronavirus.
same time,
shoot,
we
I
can
said
make
the
sure
word I
that
didn't
our
want to say.
economy is
C
being
virus.
run
Government
and moved and
rejects
motivated by
scientists'
clean
call to
energy,
end lockdown
creating
measures.
millions of new jobs. And that's the fact.
You
That's
think
what we're
they're
going
gonna
to do.
listen to
And I'm going to say,
scientists?
as I said at
Yeah.
the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor,
Unless it
respect,
lines
treating
up with
people
their
with dignity,
ideals.
making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You
Not
haven't
our
been getting
ideals,
it the last
their
4
ideals.
years.
All right, I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Bell.
Okay, so we're going to leave it there, and I want to talk about a couple things before we end the live stream, but I want to know what you think of the debate, if you were watching this later on, or if you were watching this separate from my coverage of the live stream. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. But one thing I wanted to talk about before we started the thing was HR Resolution 1154, which is condemning like conspiracy theories. Like I said, even me can be swept in that. Even though I'm putting out stuff that they said, this is a blanket censorship. Which, like I said, even though I know Biden and Trump both lie, I would not want them to be censored because their words, their actions will hang them themselves. I won't have to do it. The American people won't have to do it. Their words, their actions will hold truth to what is really going on. But they want to censor people like myself, like High Impact TV, Brian from High Impact TV. They want to censor us all. And like I said, you can read this whole bill. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to waste a lot of time. And I'm not going to get into the Bill Gates videos, but they will be left in the comments down below where you can leave a comment. Like I said, I mentioned this one where government's rejecting scientists. Probably not the ones like supposed Fauci and Deborah Birx and all the Sanjay Guptas and stuff like that. But they reject the call to end the lockdown measures. And it's not just our government, it's governments all over the world. I mean, Australia implemented more lockdowns. The Whiskey Hotel Oscar organization, this one, tells leaders to end the lockdown. Let's play this real quick.
I want to say it again. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this.
Primary means of control of this virus. So, I mean, they're even calling for the end of the lockdowns. But they're not going to listen to them because they have that ring of power, that ring of control. I'm going to even leave this one. Like I said, I'm not going to get into Gil Bates. I'll put it that way, because if you mention his name, you could get your channel taken down. Sorry, that's not what I wanted. Again, there's the fear porn death map. But this is the last thing I want to get into, and I'm going to play... No, I don't want to play that video. I'll leave this. This is going to be talking about lockstep, which I wanted to get into, which is in this document. But let's see, page, I think it's... Refresh this. Alright, so let's... Okay, so I want to cover this real quick, but I think it's page 18, I think it, yeah, page 18. So let's go to page 18. And this is what they want. There it is. Give it a second. But this is what this... Where is it? There it is. This is what this video will be talking about. A lockdown, a world of tighter top-down government control. Top-down government control. Like I said, the political parasites such as Donald Trump and Biden are not the top. No, that's the top is those banking elite cartel, such as the Federal Reserve and the IRS and the IMF. But again, you can read it here for yourself. This is that document, lockstep. And when was this put out? Oh, let's see. Let's take that way. 2010. So, I mean, they want a top-down government control, a world in which, clever together, a world in which highly coordinated and successful strategies and stuff like that. Like I say, you can read this whole thing, but again, let me go to the top here, and like I said, this all came out in what? May of 2010. So it goes back even further than this one. But like I said, I'm going to leave all that in the comments down below. All the links where you can check them out for yourself. Make your own decision. And like I said, if you go over to High Impact TV, like I said, a link to not this video, but the video before that I played. There's a link to that video that will, if you click on this right here, it will take you to his channel. Check out some of his videos. If you go over there and leave a comment, be sure to let Brian from High Impact TV know that Talking the Night sent you. So I want to thank everybody that might have tuned in for this live stream of the, and I'm going to take this away. I want to thank everybody that tuned in for the live stream of, let's take this away, there we go, events that tuned in for the live stream. It's going to probably take a while for it to process, but if you're watching it later, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Again, I think both of them are political parasites, like all political candidates or people in power right now. They're parasites, and they're just selling us down the river. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get notified when I post new videos, go live, or scheduled to go live. Also, this Saturday night, I'm going to be talking about the history of Halloween right here on the Talking the Night YouTube channel. It should be a hauntingly good time. We're going to get into why Halloween came to being and everything, the traditions that we celebrate and everything like that. So that should be a really good show. I hope to see you then Saturday night at my regular time, same bat channel. But anyways, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm live every Saturday night. This was just a special live stream to cover the debates. Now, I'll might be covering the presidential election. I haven't made up my mind yet. It's on my website for covering it, but I'm not certain. That can change. So check out talkingthenight.com and everything like that. And like I said, if you're watching this later, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the presidential debate and what I've all presented. Like I said, all the links are in the description. So until Saturday night, Saturday night, I shall see you on the dark side. Good night from Talking the Night. Late at night, darkness has fallen. Turn on the radio, and you hear him talking. Listening to what he has to say, all about paranormal and all of the things. When he sounds off, you can hear